Listen, if you want to leave your job, but you don't feel financially ready, this video, today's episode, can literally change your life. Okay, because here's the thing, you don't have to leap blindly, but what you can do is actually you can design your exit strategy strategically. Okay, it's a strategic exit from your corporate career. And what you can do is use bridge jobs and portfolio positions to maintain your income, to build your skills, to protect your mental health, right? All of those beautiful things, and keep your freedom intact while creating your next chapter. So, if that sounds good to you, then definitely stick around. But before we get into it, whether you're new to me or true to me, welcome or welcome back. I appreciate you being here. Katrina Marie here, also known as the Boss Chick Biz Coach and your fearless legacy leader. I'm here to resuscitate your life and your business and give your dreams a second chance, not just to survive, but to thrive. So if you are a high achieving woman entrepreneur or a successful corporate career woman who is over 40, I can teach you exactly how to exit that corporate career that's no longer serving you and start, build, an aligned and profitable online brand and business without sacrificing your soul and sanity or compromising your health, healing, and happiness. And that's what I'm here for. Okay, so now that we've gotten that out the way, I wanted to jump right in and take a deeper dive into the conversation today. This is something I've been excited to talk about, and this literally can change your entire life. Okay, it's not a lot of people who know about this or know exactly that's what it's called. Maybe this is the first time you've ever heard of it. Okay, maybe you've heard somebody mention it, but you didn't exactly know what it was. So we're going to get into all of that today, but we're going to especially talk about how it can help you with where you are right now to put you in a very strong financial position, a position of power. Okay, so you can take control back of your life and really build something that you hadn't even maybe considered before. Okay. Let's talk first, though, about why the traditional corporate career path is dead and gone for Gen X women. You know, because we grew up learning that whole brainwashed system that we were taught to believe that we go to school, we get a good job, we climb the corporate ladder, right? Got to get that good paying job. Okay, not just any good job, just a good paying job with the benefits and all, the pension plan and all. Climb high up the ladder, and then hit the proverbial glass ceiling, and then retire well and supposedly live happily ever after. And that's the fairy tale that we are fed. Nobody talks about the nightmare that might come, and that inevitably will, and that in this day and age is already here. You yourself might be experiencing that, right? But at some point in our very long career, in the tenure of my long 30-year career, I too never thought it would happen to me until it did. And what am I talking about? The dreaded layoff, right? So that might be your story now, or you might know somebody who's close to you who's gone through this, or maybe this is something that's coming up for you because you're in the midst of it, in the thick of it. Whatever the case might be, and even if that's not your scenario right now, this still can be applicable to you with where you are in the journey. And I'm here to help give you all the good goods today, okay? So you can take this information, the practical solutions, I'm gonna break this all down for you, and you can literally run with this and change your life, okay? Now, again, let's first talk about why the traditional corporate career path that we were taught to believe is the only way to be successful is dead and gone for Gen Xers, for Gen X women specifically, because that's the audience I cater to, although this will be applicable to anyone if you are a Gen Xer, okay? We were taught and raised to believe that you work hard, you stay loyal, and then you retire at 65 with a pension, right? Basically what I alluded to earlier, how I broke it down a little bit differently than I just did. The system's changed though, that's the thing. And we've got to change with the times, right? So the system is different. Layoffs are more common. Pensions are long gone, and loyalty is no longer a thing. Like, you don't get rewarded for loyalty anymore. And so let's be honest. We're too old to be exploited, but we're too young to be dismissed, right? So we're caught like in that between stage. And so this is what I want to say to you. You were taught to climb a ladder. But the problem is nobody told you that the ladder was going to collapse halfway up, okay? Now it's time to build a bridge instead. So no more ladders, we got to build bridges. And that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. Okay. Now, first of all, let's talk about what a bridge job is and why you need one. That would be important to know. So the first thing is a very simple definition, and this is the best way I can explain it. A bridge job is really like a temporary, flexible, lower stress position that can help you pay the bills, right? While you're transitioning out of corporate, while you're working on your business, while you reimagine your next chapter. Okay, that's what a bridge job is. It can do all of those things at once, or depending on which path you're taking, it could. That's what a bridge job is to bridge the gap as you're doing those things. Okay, and so the purpose of it is to pay the bills, to keep the lights on, to keep your rent or mortgage paid without draining your soul. Okay, it's also to preserve your mental energy, to protect your time, your peace, right? And also, as you're building that business, or as you're making space for your healing journey, that's what it is for too. As well as it buys you some breathing room, it buys you some time as you're building something more sustainable. So that could look like a few things. Okay, first of all, remote work, part-time work is going to be the most flexible. That could look like a part-time project management position, program management, if that's your background, virtual assistant work, okay? Health and wellness gigs, if you have the experience, if that's your background. It could be in real estate, if that's what you've done for your career, right? Customer service, temp roles, anything that would offer you a flexible schedule. If you are a teacher, an educator, you can do teach some online classes, right? Some workshops. There are platforms like Udemy, Udemy. Skillshare is another one. There are lots of them out there. You just got to do the work. But you can start with some of the teaching platforms, and that's all you got to put in Google, and it will bring up a ton of them in the search. Okay. My key message really is, though, don't think of a bridge job as something that is beneath you. Think of it as something that's working beside you, okay, for your bigger vision. Do you know what I'm saying? Because I know I'm a bougie chick too. You might be that. You might feel like, darling. I mean, I am educated. I have degrees. I've gone to school. I've done the work. I have this much experience in corporate. Okay, it's no way I'm doing that. Well, when you need to keep the lights on and the bills paid and food in your fridge and all that, maintaining your livelihood, something a little more important than feeling like it's beneath you, that attitude will go away quickly, okay? Especially when you're in a really, really bad financial situation. And so, and even if it's not that bad yet, it could very well be because of the economy we're in. So just don't I just want you to reframe your mind, your way of thinking. I always want to talk about mindset shifts here. Okay, that's very important at all levels. As you're rebuilding and as you're building your bridge job, okay, then this would be important for you to know and how to think about things. And so my point is to say that you just got to do what you got to do, right? When you're in a not so good position and before you get into a really, really bad position, worse than you are right now. And sometimes we can't see the writing on the wall. Sometimes we can see, okay, this ain't looking so good. Okay, I've already been out of work for X amount of time. I'm already getting all of these rejections. I've gone through this many interviews. It's not easy for me to get a job. And if I am offered one, it's a very menial role, right? It's something I'm very, very overqualified for, whatever, right? So you want to just make sure that you're always thinking ahead. Okay. And you got to do what you got to do for now. This is a temporary solution that perhaps could turn into something that's going to be more permanent. We don't know, right? But again, do what you got to do to keep the lights on, to keep food in your fridge, to keep a roof over your head, right? In this political climate, at this very moment, as you are hearing the sound of my voice, okay, I don't know when you'll watch this in the future or now, but if you're watching now, okay, then this is a time where we are under, it's just a lot going on in this climate right now. I don't even want to get into the political stuff. I don't want to get into who's in office right now and the administration. I don't want to get into any of that in this video, but you know what time it is, right? And you know how you're being affected. And so at the time of this recording, I'm just saying it's not looking so good for a lot of people, okay? Typically, I know we come from an era where we can just get a job after a job after a job. I know because I did it my whole career. And if I were to go back in the workforce now, it ain't easy, okay? So that's all I'm saying. Like, we just don't got time to waste. This is not a joke, right? We don't have time to waste, and there's nothing to be played with. Like, life is nothing to be played with. This is your life and your livelihood. And if you have anybody depending on you, family members, aging parents, ill parents, right? Adult children, what have you, college age children, okay? Taking care of grandkids, whatever. That puts the pressure on you more. Now, if you're getting what I'm giving and you love these gems I'm dropping, go ahead and leave a comment right now so we can get this discussion popping. I would love to know what's hitting home for you, what's pulling on those heartstrings, and what's resonating with you the most, okay? Let's go ahead and continue this dialogue below. But also, if you're getting value from my video, if you've watched any of my episodes or you're new here and you're like, I'm kind of feeling this chick, she's speaking my language, stick around, peruse around my page, and get to know me better, okay? But in the meantime and in between time, definitely make sure you hit the subscribe button so that you get notified whenever I drop new content and or go live, all right? Now, let's get into what portfolio careers are, portfolio positions. Okay, we've talked about bridge jobs. Now we got to talk about portfolio positions. You can literally make a career out of this, by the way, but I'm going to tell you something here shortly that's going to be a little bit of a bonus tip for you, so stick around for that as well. Now, here's the thing. In short, in summary, okay, very plain and simple, a portfolio career is when you create income from multiple aligned streams, sources, okay, using your existing skills, your talents, your passions, right, your experience, your education, all of that combined, rather than just one 9-to-5. Now, notice the operative word that I emphasized. If you didn't catch that, I'm going to go back to it, and that is aligned. Okay? You've heard me use that a couple of times already in this video, right? It's all about alignment, right? And building an aligned business, but also if you're going to have multiple income streams, where people go wrong, I see this all the time, is they have multiple income streams from a variety of different sources that have nothing to do with nothing. They're not, they're mixed and matched, right? To the degree that like they don't have like one core stream, right? And then the other streams branching off of it that's in alignment with the core thing they want to do. In other words, some people are doing real estate over here, hair, they might be doing hair on the side over here, doing gig work over here, like driving Uber or for DoorDash or Lyft or one of those, right? And then they might be doing something online, and then they're working a job and this and that and the third. That is a hustle that will burn you out fast. I'm not talking about a hustle. I'm talking about sustainable income, sustainable side businesses, okay, that actually can turn into the main thing. I digress. I just needed to say that because aligned is the operative word that I need you to hear. I don't want you to miss that part of this important message, okay? Now that we're clear on that, you're going to have all of these multiple sources, not just one 9-to-5, which puts you in a very strong position, and I'll talk about that here in a minute. But I want you to think about it like this. When I say portfolio careers, as opposed to, say, the bridge jobs, I want you to think freelance work. Freelance writing, freelance consulting, teaching workshops, speaking engagements, coaching, mentoring, digital products, online courses, right? Contract roles. Whatever you would consider to be your zone of genius. That's what I'm talking about when I'm talking about portfolio positions or careers. Now, instead of asking who's hiring, I want you to ask this. What do I already know? What skill set do I already have? What talents do I already have that people will pay me for? Okay? Different than a bridge job, right? If you go back and listen to the definition I gave and the examples I gave, that's a bit different. And I gave different examples of what types of roles or jobs those are in both categories, right? So go back if you have to and watch this video. But that's what I want you to ask now. I said I was going to give you a bonus tip, and that bonus tip is that you can combine them. You can combine your bridge job and your portfolio position for maximum flexibility, okay? In other words, mix up the bag, okay, so that you can really secure your future. Why? Because if one bag runs dry or somebody lays you off at a job or whatever, and you can't find work, and rather than you being unemployed for a long period of time, you still have a bridge job. You still have a portfolio position, right? And you just kind of bring those together to create an income for you and give you the flexibility that you need, okay? How do you know if you're ready for this path, though? And that's the question I get asked a lot when I talk about this. I want you to ask yourself these questions. You can write this down, or you can just listen to this as many times as you need to, but I really want you to think about this. And so I want you to go through these series of questions to ask yourself that I'm going to ask you right now, okay? I want you to say to yourself or ask yourself, am I burnt out from chasing jobs right now? Jobs that don't want me, jobs that keep rejecting me, right? Application after application, resume after resume, career fair after career fair. Am I burnt out? Do I deserve this level of rejection? Am I better than that? Am I deserving of more? Those are the questions I want you to start with. Also ask yourself, do you crave freedom? Do you crave flexibility? Do you crave flow? Do you crave fulfillment? Right? Do I have multiple skills that I've overlooked because I've been like so focused on being this good employee, loyal employee, dedicated and committed to this employer who can let me go at any time? Something to think about, right? And would I rather build something of my own that will allow me to live my first class life on my terms, not theirs? Life that doesn't require me to feel like I need a vacation from it, right? Do I want to build something for myself rather than keep begging for someone to hire me? Like, is this what I want to keep doing? Asking for a handout, really? At this age? Nah, I don't think so. And so if yes to any of these, then this is your sign. Now is the time. That's how you know, okay? Now, I always like to offer real world examples, right? Because I am the corporate queen, honey, okay? I was the corporate queen and I went to a portfolio pro, okay? So you're talking to the right person here. You're listening, I should say, to the right person here. So I guess I can best describe this through giving examples, stories. I always like to do that because I feel like it's more relatable, right? It can kind of take you through the journey. You can see yourself in the story. You can start thinking about how this could actually help you in your own scenario, right? It gives you something to really ponder over. I feel like I really need some water to drink because I've been talking so much, if you can't tell. But okay, I digress. So I had a client who was a former senior HR director. And I don't know if I try to share different stories, but anyways, this is applicable to this part of the examples that I'm giving, just to kind of put this into perspective for you. But she was a former senior HR director who I personally knew, okay, who got laid off unexpectedly after 12 to 15 or so years. Instead of her scrambling around or allowing, her life to be in shambles or trying to figure it all out on her own and stressing all out and all of that kind of stuff, she contacted me because she knew the kind of work I was doing. We decided to work together, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. She already knew who to contact. That person was me. She knew how I taught. She knew about my holistic approach. She wanted holistic success, right? So we worked together. She decided to lean more towards consulting, which was perfect for her. In fact, it wasn't even a conversation to really have. That was the lowest hanging fruit for her. And that was the next best thing for her to do, because she kind of was really already doing that without really realizing it in her former role. as a senior HR director. And so she leaned more towards coaching. She started a side business around executive coaching, right? And then she took a part-time HR, I want to say, I don't know, some kind of HR project. I can't remember exactly what it was, for some extra income. So today she's earning more on her terms. Okay. Doesn't matter who lets her go, because she's not in the workforce anymore. But even if she was, these are the things she'd be doing, and she doesn't now have to depend on that one income, which is always very risky to do. Okay, you don't want to depend on just one income, that one income being your 9 to 5. Because again, for whatever reason, that may have nothing at all to do with you, just a business decision. A typical Tuesday, this is the decision the company has to make. It's downsizing, reduction in force, budgetary constraints, businesses shutting its doors, it's closing down, whatever, okay? We overhired, whatever the case might be, or they pinpointed you as the problem and it's a toxic environment that you wanted to get out of anyway. It's a job you've outgrown. A ton of scenarios, but this put her, as it would put you, in a much stronger position to be okay with if that's what happens, because you still have something else going for you. Okay, so now she no longer feels trapped, and she doesn't feel uncertain. And another example I can also give you is when I worked with an RN who did telehealth and group coaching. Okay, that was her bridge job. She did group coaching on the side. Her bridge job was telehealth. She was no longer at the bedside. I think she was still per diem or doing registry or something like that, because she was initially a travel nurse, okay? And that was a burnout. And so now she can spend more time with her family. She can do more of what she loves, right? She doesn't have to neglect her own needs and self-care. She had more peace, less stress. You know, her sanity was intact, you know what I mean? So she put herself in a very strong financial position, right? So, and she was able to just breathe. You know, sometimes we just don't even have enough time, it feels like, to really take deep breaths. We're just like shallow breathing throughout the day, sometimes holding our breaths, right? And so she did this, and she was able to move away from bedside altogether, no longer having to travel away, spend weeks at a time, months at a time away from her family, right? And that allowed her to just feel free. And guess what? The hospital she was working at ended up having, not long after we set this up for her, a reduction in force for the second time. The first go round, it didn't affect her. Second time around, it did. So she did this before it happened, and she was good to go. And she was just so happy that she worked with me and that we got this together for her. Okay, so this I just want you to see yourself in these scenarios, because I want you to know that this is possible for you too. Okay, that's the biggest thing I want you to hear. So whatever your current situation is, just think about it. I want you to, I won't go into too many more examples because I don't want to overwhelm you, but those are two really good examples. Here's what I do want you to do next, though. I want you to think about, because I'm sure your question next is, okay, great. Now that I know that, what do I need to do to get started today? Because I'm ready. Well, a couple things, okay? But I'm going to give you some real action steps, as I always do. So first thing is audit your skills, right? Make a list of everything you've done so far in your entire career. Everything, a whole entire list. And listen, we're talking about monetization, monetizing you, your skills, your talents, your God-given gifts, your education, your level of expertise. Okay. So we've got to think about everything we've done. Doesn't matter if you liked it, loved it, hated it. None of that matters right now. We need to just do a brainstorm and a brain dump. So I don't want you to think too long and hard about this. I want you to simply pick one bridge job after you've thought about all the things that you've done in your career, one bridge job that you can actually do in the next 30 days. Okay. I want you to start relieving yourself from the financial pressure that you're feeling right now. That's why this is so important. So audit your skills, your talents, okay, your natural abilities, just auto dump, put it all on paper, and think about, what can I do to monetize this? What can I do as a bridge job? Then I want you to set yourself up for like outline your portfolio. Okay, we talked about your portfolio position, right? You understand what the difference is between the two now. You're going to identify 2 to 3 things that you can monetize. Okay, the other's a bridge job that you go and you get. You work as a W-9 or W-2 employee. This, when we're talking about portfolio positions, that's usually 1099 contract work. Okay. We're talking about coaching, consulting, writing, speaking, the things I already named. Okay. Go back to the part of the video where I talked about the differences between the two so that you can write those down if you need to and start to brainstorm. Okay. Then I want you to create a 6-month freedom plan. If you ask yourself, okay, if I did this part-time for 6 months, what could my exit look like? This is where you dream and get into radical action. Okay. And again, I want to warn you, you can get caught up in the weeds of this thing. I don't want you to get caught up in the intricacies of all of this. Simply just fill it out on paper. What have you done so far? What can I get as a bridge job? And what could I create as a portfolio position, period. This doesn't need to be harder and more complicated than necessary, okay? Make it simple, make it plain. Don't think too long and hard about this. As I said, you don't need to wait for this to be perfect. You just gotta start, okay? That's always the beginning. We gotta start somewhere. So let's just start. Now, I want you to know that if this spoke to you in any way, right? If you know deep down that you're really ready for more, you want freedom, true fulfillment, true flexibility, ease and flow, right? At this big old age, especially. And you're ready to make the shift, but you're not exactly sure, how do I do it without crashing financially and emotionally? Then I want you to reach out to me. Let's talk, okay? This is my zone of genius. I offer, in fact, a VIP day. I offer group coaching, amongst other resources. But the place to start would be one of the 2 things. I'll leave the links below actually for both my VIP day and my group coaching if you already know that's something you want to do. But if you're not sure where to start, or you need one-off support, or you need to kind of get more clarity around all of this and figure out, how to map this out, how to devise your exit plan, how to, what's your next most powerful step, right? What's going to be an effective strategy and all of that, then we need to get on a focus and freedom clarity call. All right. So I'll be sure to leave the links below in the pinned comment, but also you can look up in the description box and find this information there as well. Okay, so the links to those and other resources are there. Let me just help you design your portfolio career step by step. That's the easiest thing to do, is to have somebody who's done it before work alongside you, and then it's no guesswork. Okay, so don't make it harder on yourself. Go ahead and click one of the links below so we can get started right away. Okay, and as soon as I see your application come through, and or you go ahead and book a call, there'll be a pre-screened form for you to answer some very specific questions so that I'm prepared for that call. We'll have a productive conversation and get you well on your way to your freedom path and whatever that looks like for you. Okay, so that's my time. I'm going to tune out while you tune in. Be sure to share this video out with at least 3 friends and watch the next video that YouTube recommends, okay? As always, and until next time, I am wholeheartedly in this journey with you. Bye for now.